I figured it out. You guys didn't even need to type it in the chat. I figured it out. Anyway, welcome to this special edition early morning live stream. We're going to be covering Joe Biden is going to deliver some remarks, and he's likely going to sign this new bill into law, which averted the railway strike. We're going to talk about, you may see the title of this video, and how he screwed over union workers, because that's exactly what happened. The unions did not want the government to intervene in this railway strike with the railroad, industry. The people that are applauding it are the railways and the railway managers and the stakeholders. They're the ones who are applauding it. And all Americans should applaud the fact that there is no strike, but at what cost? Now you may be saying, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? With a Canadian accent to boot. Well, the fact is that the Biden administration has made it a pact to say they are pro-union, they are pro-union, they are pro-union, except, well, guess what? They are not pro-union. That's why they continuously, since they took office in 2020, have been stabbing unions in the back with the day one executive order canceling out the Keystone Pipeline, affecting the jobs of roughly 6,000 union members who lost their jobs in the lifeline of that job. It affected dozens and dozens of others. Dozens and dozens of thousands is what I'm trying to say there, because so many union members lost their jobs. Remember in Canada when the Keystone Pipeline was canceled, it was 20,000 Canadian union members lost their jobs when the Canadian pipeline, let alone all the money that was lost by the Canadian governments that heavily invested into the Keystone Pipeline. Because each province had, I guess, what was it? The province of Saskatchewan that had invested millions and millions, hundreds of millions of jobs or millions of dollars into this pipeline, only to have it pulled from their grasp by President Biden. He campaigned on making unions great again and supporting unions, except it seems like almost everything he's done has affected unions. He likely will talk a little bit about the new jobs report that came out today, beating expectations that 200 and change thousand jobs were added. The unemployment rate did not change, however, and you may know or may not know that even though the trucking sector showed a slight improvement, warehouse jobs actually lost jobs this week, which is kind of interesting when you think about it, because they say, well, the supply chain crisis is averted. If the supply chain crisis is averted, why are they laying off warehouse workers in record numbers? I don't know. I mean, those are just facts that nobody really likes to talk about because it is what it is. But we are waiting right now. President Biden was supposed to deliver his address and sign this bill a short time ago, and I decided to cover it live because, well, what the hell else was I going to do? I figured, hey, it's what's good for the gander. And I figured we'll cover it. There are no congressional hearings or anything today. And I didn't really feel like making an uploaded video. So I was like, I will just do this and do my best not to curse. And maybe YouTube will monetize this video, although I didn't try to get it monetized because I'm stupid and I forgot to. So it's not even monetized anyway. Now, if any of you guys are looking to understand this railway strike and being averted and how it's big, I'll explain this yesterday from an NPR news article. Now, NPR used to be a neutral voice, but now they are an arm of the government. But yet, it's the least biased attempt at that I was able to find on the railway strike, which is mildly entertaining. The Senate bill has approved a measure meant to avert a railroad strike in 8 days without the paid sick days rail workers have been asking for. Now, keep in mind, one of the major reasons that rail union workers were striking was because they wanted paid sick days. They currently get 0. So they wanted paid sick days because, well, again, they currently get 0. Senators passed the bill to force unions to accept a tentative agreement reached earlier this year between railroad managers and their workers and make an imminent strike illegal without making any changes by an 80 to 15 vote. The rejected measure to offer sick paid leave was 52-43. Both measures required 60 votes to clear the Senate. Both bills cleared the House on Wednesday. Biden applauded the move and vowed to sign it as soon as Congress sends it to his desk, which could happen today. And I'm guessing that's what is going to happen. He said in a statement, working together, we have spared this country a Christmas catastrophe in our grocery stores, in our workplace, in our communities. But not all are satisfied. Bernie Sanders was among a group of bipartisan senators who voted to reject the bill on the union contract after the sick leave effort failed, saying, we have to continue the fight, and I intend to do everything I can to ensure that this day will come sooner or later, and that not only rail workers in America have guaranteed sick days, but all American workers. He said the majority of the House passed it and the majority of the Senate passed it, but we weren't able to pass it because we need 60 votes, and that's unfortunate, he said. 6 Republicans voted in favor of the Senate's sick paid leave effort, and only one Democrat, Joe Manchin, voted against it. Basically, who's this? Manchin wrote after the vote saying, basically, I made sure that we voted not to increase inflation, not to put more hardships on the American public, especially in West Virginia. They couldn't. That piece of legislation had already been negotiated by the Secretary of Labor and the labor unions and the president. And I don't think we should be interacting because if we do, it'll never stop. So Manchin basically said, sorry, I got a feed on the other computer. But Manchin essentially said, nah. That's what he said. He said, nah. Hold on. All right. So it looks like because I had the Washington Post up on that computer, and it looks like they are attempting to do audio checks. So maybe this is going to start soon. All right. So that's Manchin's thing. He basically says he doesn't believe the government should be getting involved in labor strike disputes between union workers and their union bosses and managers and railroad stakeholders and all that stuff. Really common sense, right? If you don't like unions, that the United States government shouldn't be interfering, except Biden promised that he was going to get the back of union members and we want the union vote. Well, this is what happens when you vote based on false promises. All you union guys out there, all the Teamsters and pipe fitters and steam layers and all that stuff. This is what happens. You get your back stabbed viciously by an old, feeble 80-year-old man who wears a diaper every day. I made up the last part. You could say I made it up, but he very well may wear a diaper every day. Who really knows? Railway managers and stakeholders who feared the supply chain disruptions to items like gas and food are already celebrating. National Corn Growers Association President Tom Hogg said, we are extremely relieved that Congress took actions to head off a strike that would have had serious consequences for America's farmers who are grappling with an increase in input costs and barge rates due to severe drought conditions on the Mississippi River. Now, we've heard that before because he's done interviews, and I've already mentioned that. The railroad managers maintain that the deal was a compromise for all, except the union members don't agree. President Ian Jeffries of the Association of American Railroads said, as we close out this long, challenging process, none of the parties achieved anything that they advocated for. The product of these agreements is a compromise by nature, but the result is one of substantial gains for all rail employees. The politics behind the sick leave effort was meant to ease concerns from labor unions and some lawmakers, despite Biden's request not to alter the carefully negotiated underlying deal. Advocates have been asking for paid sick leave policies to be put into the contract for months. The deal negotiated by the Biden administration only included one paid personal day, causing some unions to reject it, creating the threat of a rail worker strike as soon as December 19th. Some senators, like GOP Senators Marco Rubio, Josh Hawley, and Ted Cruz, have come out strongly against any measure that doesn't include more sick pay days for workers, saying, I think labor bosses in the Biden administration screwed over the workers, cutting a deal they don't support, said Rubio. I don't think Congress should be put in a position of having to negotiate labor deals, but if we're forced to do so, then I'll only support one that at least nods towards the workers, nods towards what the workers' priorities are. So we'll see how it plays out. They were joined by progressives, which is Crazy, right? Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley were joined by progressives. In a joint statement issued after the House vote, a dozen Democratic senators urged the Senate leadership to take up both House passed bills to support the workers. Congress can and must make this agreement better, they said in a statement. For nearly 3 years our nation's railway workers have been fighting the front lines of the pandemic. They have kept our trains on track even while facing unprecedented challenges, they wrote. Senate Democrats were joined by Labor Secretary Marty Walsh and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg on Thursday. Walsh told reporters that a final deal was up to the Senate and more time between railroads and unions was not going to help. Lawmakers had mulled over a third option, extending the cooling off period to 90 days to give railroad managers and workers more time to negotiate at the bargaining table, but this effort failed 26-69. Obviously, all legislative efforts require 60 votes. The White House and Pelosi skepticism looms. Earlier on Thursday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi threw cold water on the possibility of getting 60 votes in the Senate to support 7 days of sick leave, saying if we had 60 votes in the Senate, it could possibly happen, but we don't have 60 votes in the Senate. She said maybe they'll surprise us in the next day or so and vote for sick leave, but that's an obstacle to it. During a press conference with President Emmanuel Macron, Biden was asked about a pending railroad strike in the United States, to which he promptly pulled down his pants and pooped on the stage. I made that part up. That didn't really happen. Biden defended the deal. What was negotiated was much better than anything they ever had, he said, adding that a strike would cost 750,000 jobs and send the U.S. into a recession. Newsflash, we're already in a recession. He insisted that the White House will renew its post for paid leave for all workers and industries after Congress passes this draft deal. Biden has asked for the bill by Saturday, according to the White House. Railroads handle the transportation of 30 to 40% of all goods, but take the lion's share of products like ethanol, fertilizer, and grains. Railroad managers warn that if a strike was to happen, there are few options given ongoing trucking shortages and the risk of backlogging ports, which is a complete and utter lie. There is no trucker shortage, yet they want to pretend there is because they are stupid. For us, the strike effectively starts this weekend, said Corey Rosenbusch, president of the Fertilizer Institute, on call with reporters. Rail carriers have already notified us that ammonia shipments we need to be pulled off the network starting about 5 days before, which would be December 4th. So many fertilizer companies are already preparing for that reality. So that's the latest update. Who is texting me like crazy? Maybe it's people giving lots of money. Nope, it's not. It's just people and my wife. I got to say hi to my wife. I'm just going to be like, hey, I'm live, girl. Like, leave me alone, girl. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Hey, dear. I am live. Talk later. Love you. Anyway, so that's about the total in its entirety. Unions did not support Congress getting involved in this at all. And a lot of Republicans didn't, which is kind of surprising if you think about it, because I guarantee if we trace the political contributions of these big railway stakeholders, I bet a lot of them align with both parties. But I would think that they would align more with the Republican Party because, well, they're rich. The Republican Party has the best interests of corporations. That's what everyone says, right? So it's interesting that this bill actually went to support the railway unions or the railway stakeholders and the managers and the people that are making all the money from not the people that are actually doing all the hard work, right? Not the engineers, the conductors, the laborers, and all that stuff. Those people are still the ones that didn't want the government, interceding in their contract negotiations for this simple reason: they're not getting what they wanted. I'm not a big fan of unions, but I am a big fan of America. And it's true. America's unions used to, maybe not so much now, but they used to run this country. And I don't believe in screwing over any other Americans. Someone said they're all eating lobster while they screw everyone else. Yeah. And isn't there some big legislation going on where all these EPA Biden administration officials are trying to draw back the amount of lobsters that are allowed to be caught off the coast of Maine? I believe there is some sort of weird shit going on with that too, which is kind of confusing because the Biden administration the other day had a big meal where they ordered 200 lobsters, 200 Maine lobsters, which is crazy because a lot of people that are more familiar with that lobster thing in Maine and what's going on there, they've like jumped all over social media and they're like, what the heck is this administration doing? Don Veek said railroads lied at every congressional hearing. No way should there ever be one-man trains. I don't know what that means, and you're probably right. I don't know. Someone said 14 days paid sick days is 14 days paid sick leave is a bridge too far. See, I don't know. My wife has like 10 days a year and she's off she's off for 2.5 months. So keep that in mind. My wife has a tremendous amount of sick days. I don't get sick days. I lose money when I have to take them. Do I think that the government, especially with all the union dues, like, here's the thing. A union, here's Biden. So let's listen to his.
Let me begin by thanking my team here. They did one heck of a job in averting what could have been a real disaster, and ended up with a good product. But we still have more work to do, in my view, in terms of ultimately getting paid sick leave, not just for rail workers, but for every worker in America. That is a goal I had in the beginning, and I'm coming back at it. So, but good morning. The bill I'm about to sign ends a difficult rail dispute and helps our nation avoid what, without a doubt, would have been an economic catastrophe at a very bad time in the calendar. Our nation's rail system is literally the backbone of our supply chain, as you all well know, and so much of what we rely on is delivered on our rail, from clean water to food and gas and every other good. Rail shutdown would have devastated our economy. Without freight rail, many of the U.S. industries would literally shut down. In the event of a shutdown, my economic advisors report that as many as 765,000 Americans, many of them union members themselves, would have been put out of work for the first time, and within the first 2 weeks of the strike alone. Communities could have lost access to chemicals necessary to ensure clean drinking water. Farms and ranches across the country would have been unable to feed their livestock. And thanks to the bill Congress passed, and one I'm about to sign, we've spared the country that catastrophe. At the same time, we ensured workers are going to get a historic 24% wage increase over the next 5 years, improved working conditions, and peace of mind around their health care. And look, I know this bill doesn't have paid sick leave that these rail workers and frankly every worker in America deserves. But that fight isn't over. I didn't commit we were going to stop just because we couldn't get it in this bill that we were going to stop fighting for it. I've supported paid sick leave for a long time. I'm going to continue that fight till we succeed. And I want to thank Congress, Democrats and Republicans, for acting so quickly. I know this was a tough vote for members of both parties. It was a tough for me, but it was the right thing to do at the moment, to save jobs, to protect millions of working families from harm and disruption, and to keep supply chains stable around the holidays, and to continue the progress we've made and we continue to see on the economy. For months, you couldn't look anywhere without seeing headlines screaming, gas prices at the pump are up. But look, folks, gas prices are down, and you barely hear anything about it right now. They're continuing to go down, and there's a lot more that's going to happen. They're down more than $1.50 a gallon since the summer, and they continue to fall. And our economy continues to grow. The economic report, the GDP is up even more than it was previously thought. We continue to create jobs, lots of jobs. And today, we've learned that the economy added 263,000 jobs in November. Now, we've now created 10.5 million jobs since I took office, more than any administration in history at this point in the presidency. And 750,000 of them are domestic manufacturing jobs made in America. Unemployment rate remains near an all-time 50-year low, 3.7%. And wages for working families, I want to say this again, wages for working families, in fact, over the last couple months have gone up. These wage increases are larger than the increase in inflation during that same period of time. And so we're in a position now where things are moving. They're moving in the right direction. As we go into the holiday season, here's what this all means. The Americans are working, the economy is growing, wages are rising faster than inflation, and we've avoided a catastrophic rail strike. It means our plan to build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. You're tired of hearing me say that, but it's working. And the wealthy are still doing very well while the middle class and the poor are having a shot. I want to thank Congress once again for being partners today, for averting this disaster and keeping our economy on a stable footing during the holiday season. I want to thank you all, and I'm going to reach over here and sign this bill and make it official. This is the House Joint Resolution 100. Okay. And by the way, I really can't emphasize enough how much I appreciate the team behind me, working with business and labor to get this done and avoid this. But otherwise, it's a really good bill, lacking only one thing. And we're going to get that one thing done before it's all over. Anyway, thank you.
Mr. President, why aren't you going to Georgia to help Senator Warnock?
I'm going to Georgia today to help Senator Warren, not to Georgia. I'm going to help Senator Warren, and I'm doing a major fundraiser up in Boston today for our next continued Senate candidate and senator. Thank you.
President, how soon should rail workers expect sick days?
Oil and refill the strategic reserves, Mr. President?
I can convince our Republicans to see light.
And is it time for the U.S. government to step in to prevent the spread of hate?
All right. So what you just heard there was the president of the United States lying again, like he always does. It's very common. It's a very common thing. Unions don't like this. In fact, and here's the biggest proof that unions don't like this deal. Rail union presidents representing more than half of rail workers told CNBC there will be election consequences for politicians who don't support them. The rail union bosses said they understand why President Biden, the most pro-labor president in recent history, had to push to Congress to pass a tentative agreement, but reiterated that paid sick leave remains an issue they consider essential to proper recognition of rail workers. So basically, leaders of the rail unions have voted not to ratify the tentative labor deal, told CNBC ahead of the Senate vote to pass legislation to prevent a rail strike. Hold on. This is yesterday's press conference that just started. They said, well, here, I mean, who is this? Tony Caldwell, president of the Maintenance Way Employees Division, Brotherhood of Maintenance Way Employees Division. I don't even know what that said. Our membership is going to support whoever stands with them, he said. It's looking like the Democrats are standing with our members and making sure that our members get sick leave. If that's the case, then we will. If Republicans are bold enough to step out, stand with labor, stand with the blue collar workers and vote with our members, then it's likely that they can gain votes as well. On Thursday afternoon, the Senate passed legislation that would force a tentative rail agreement and toward a national strike, but a separate vote adding on 7 days of paid sick leave failed. On Wednesday, the House had passed the tentative rail labor agreements and additional legislation to add 7 paid sick days, which has been one of the most important issues to rail workers in the breakdown in negotiations. All 3 union presidents say they understand why President Biden had to push Congress for the tentative agreement, but Caldwell said before the Senate vote, we hope he stands by us on sick pay, that he's pushing the Senate to vote for sick proposal that's on the floor. Saying it's a humanitarian issue, said Michael Baldwin, president of the Brotherhood of Railway Signalmen. People throughout the country have employers who pay them sick time. We have our employer, the railroads, paying management sick days, and you can't come to the table to bargain with your rank and file with the same. It doesn't make any sense, he said. Some members of the House have called for additional sick pay gimmick or poison pill, or called it a gimmick or poison pill. Caldwell noted that 80% of American workers have sick leave, including members of Congress. They have it. Their staffers have it. Many governments have it. Most corporations have some form of sick leave for their employees. So I find it completely irritating that they would call it a gimmick, he said. Jeremy Ferguson, president of Smart TD, said it's time for the Senate to say, let's put these union workers in a good place where there is sick pay. So in the event that they have another pandemic or whatever the case may be, so we can keep the supply chain moving and do so adequately. The railroads and the Biden administration have focused on the significant wage increases included in the deal, But Ferguson said it should not be an either or. We are not interested in trading away any of the general wage increases, the cost of living, where everything else is at, including record profits for big rail. They can afford 7 or 5 extra sick days a year without us having to go and put that out of our daily earnings. So Ferguson said the Presidential Emergency Board rail labor deal missed a few marks and sidestepped a few, mainly our attendance policy issues. He said those issues are a result of precision scheduled railroading, a model that more Class 1 freight adopted in recent years to improve their efficiency and cut costs, which has been scrutinized by both unions and governmental agencies. Railroads tighten the abundance policies down so much that drastic measures that we have, I don't know. And this is just going on. So basically what they're saying now, they have 0 sick days. So basically what this is surmounting to is that the Biden administration promised these unions when they were getting elected that they were going to do everything in their power to be the most pro-union presidency or administration ever. And what they've done consecutively from the beginning is just F over all unions. Now, what the unions wanted initially is they didn't want Congress to intervene at all. They wanted to be able to strike. Now, if they strike, it's illegal. They all go to jail. I don't know if they all go to jail. I tried to look up the consequences, but I do know a strike is illegal now that Congress has mandated that this deal be accepted. So I'm not super union-y, like I'm not a big union guy, but I do believe, I mean, do you guys disagree that people should all have sick? Like if you work a career, right? You're a salaried career contract employee, that sick days should be afforded. I think it's kind of crazy that to find out that rail union workers, conductors, I knew a kid that was in the fire academy with me, and he actually left the fire department shortly after because he got a job as a conductor on a rail thing. And the dude, like within 3 weeks, he has an Audi. Within 6 months, he just bought a house. He's making good money. I never knew that they didn't get sick day. That's kind of crazy to me, to be honest, because you would think they would. Everybody should have sick day. Is that a liberal way of thinking? I don't think so. I just think that people should be able to have paid sick days, especially if you work for an organization that's thriving and making money. Think about how much the government is paying the railways to transport all their goods and all the goods that they purchase and all that stuff and all their military equipment. Just that alone. Dane Love on YouTube said, most unions don't have sick days. My husband is a railroad engineer. I'm also union. Neither of us has sick days. That's crazy. Money Penny on YouTube said all workers should have sick days and vacation days. I agree as well. Don Veek on Facebook said railroads want to have only one man on a train so that if there is a problem, then they have to walk the length of the train to find the problem. It could be a 6-mile walk round trip. If they get sick, they are alone. I didn't know it was one person. That's kind of crazy. Louise on Facebook said, what did you say? I'm union and new people get 1 week vacation and 3 sick days for the first year. So why are they saying they don't get any sick days? Or they're saying 3 sick days isn't enough? And it depends what union. Are you part of the rail union, Louise, or are you just like something else? Steve, the government doesn't pay anyone. We, the people, pay them. It's still the government making the payments. I get what you're saying, Country Prepper 19 on YouTube, but yes. Deno Geyser said they claim they can't do it because they will have to hire more people. That's having more people? Huh. Ultimate Glor, whatever your name is. You said your union 1 sick day per month. No shit. Someone said, do railroad workers have FMLA? What is that? The Federal Medicaid, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. How can you say you're pro-union in one breath and take away their power on another breath? You can't have it both ways, said Ken on Facebook. Yes, that is true. Ultimate Glorier, this is a Twitch viewer. He says his 1 day per month sick day can carry over. So essentially you get 12 days of sick. I think that's similar to what my wife gets. And hers carries over every year. So like this year, even though she's taken a lot of time off from work, she still has something like 70 hours left or something like that. It's crazy. Cindy Copsey said, I had no idea anyone had no sick leave. How ridiculous. I know. John said for railroads, he said, I think a lot of people need to realize the conditions these guys work in. I agree with you as well, John. UTSA Jennifer said on Twitch, said Family Medical Leave Act. Ah, yeah. What is that? I have no idea. And it says, Cindy said that doesn't even matter because the Family Medical Leave Act does not pay you. Who's it pay? Does it pay other people? I don't know. But yeah. Crazy stuff, man. It's pretty crazy. You know what? Speaking of crazy, how do you guys like that? Do you like when I'm putting the comments up on the screen? Other people do it with all like YouTube and super chats and stuff. I can't see the Facebook stars. Like I can't see who sends Facebook stars. I can, however, see YouTube super chats because I want to find a way to like get you guys more involved in the show. Like I was watching one the other day where they put a link and they just let you join the show and have conversation. And I don't think I'm ever going to do that, to be honest, because we'll just get people that troll and do stupid stuff. I don't necessarily want to do that, but I want to do something so it's more, you know, you guys. But also, I want to tell you guys about something that is quite amazing. If you didn't know, we have what we are releasing as a Patriot As F bundle. You could guess what As F stands for. Yeah, you can. The link is in the chat. We're giving away a TV tonight to one lucky purchaser of that box, and you can finance that sucker with ShopPay. 4 payments. What this box is, it's going to be a box of 2 t-shirts or a hoodie, depending on which option you choose. It's going to have a custom fiery but peaceful coffee roast from Gratis Cafe that you can only get if you order this box. We're not going to carry it in the store because it's co-labeled by my other company, Gratis Cafe, that doesn't do anything political to a fiery but peaceful riot blend. It's going to have probably a patriotic shot glass because everyone wanted the shot glasses. It'll have stickers, patches, a book by a veteran, so much other stuff in there. Plus, it'll all be in a 30 caliber U.S. government surplus ammo can. Like, I mean, it's amazing, right? So make sure you go and buy one of those boxes. It definitely helps me and this stream in doing everything we do. And yeah, this is a pre-order, so we're not actually shipping them out until January, the first week of January. But after that, they will be available daily. And you'll be able to order and we'll ship them out once a week because we're not going to get rid of our bundles. We also have the trucker bundle and all that stuff. Brian Reinhardt on YouTube said they should strike. They should strike. Where did your comment go? Here it is. He said they should strike anyway. America needs a wake-up call. Also, they should not be allowed to work against their will, as forced labor is slavery. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm not going to equate the government overstepping and forcing unions to go back to work and not have strikes. I'm not going to equate that to slavery because that's not the same thing, because they're getting paid and it's not slavery. But I will say it's wrong because you're taking out of. So like here's an argument that most union guys can make is like, listen, if our bargaining power, the whole reason we're in a union is now waived because the government wants to step in and tell us we're not allowed to bargain, we're not allowed to do what the function of a union is, then what is the point of having unions? You know what I mean? They could make that argument. Why are we paying all this in union dues if our union isn't able to actually get any good contracts for us? So that would be interesting. You know what I mean? Someone said big Steve. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah, Elon Musk suspended Kanye West from Twitter last night. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I understand all his comments and the racist stuff and the Hitler comments and stuff like that. I get that. That's not grounds to kick him off of Twitter. Because Twitter apparently is now it was the home of free speech until that was thwarted yesterday. Elon Musk said he kicked him off for violating Twitter terms of service, calling it incitement. However, he posted a picture of something that doesn't, it looked like a swastika with a Star of David in the middle, but it stands for something else. I don't know what the hell it means, but it's all over social media. But they kicked him off. It wasn't meant to be a swastika from what I understand, because when you look up what that photo is, it's not a swastika. It actually has a different meaning. But it doesn't matter. Twitter is not a platform of free speech. He also, before he posted that one, he posted a picture of a very unhealthy looking Elon Musk on a boat with some other dude. And I got a feeling that is why he was taken off of the platform, in my personal opinion. But more power to it, because kind of like the argument I made yesterday, I'm like, listen, sure, you have free speech, but where do you draw the line? If you come in and say that a private company has to do what you want because you believe that your speech is more important than the company owners, the one that owns the company and runs the company, it's kind of weird. It's like someone telling me that I am or am not allowed to talk about something on this show. I'd be like, F you, right? Because I have the right to talk about what I want to talk about on the show, don't I? You know what I'm saying? So it's weird because it's like a fine line of what's acceptable. It's kind of like Biden promising to get the backs of the railroad unions and the Teamsters and all the other guys, and then to literally do what he's been doing and stabbing them in the back. Kind of the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Kind of the same thing. FMLA only protects your job, and I think it's like 12 weeks, said Richard Pearson on YouTube. Yeah. Is that the deal? So they helped put Joe in office and he screwed over them. Am I correct? Said Oddball, I'm a woman on YouTube. Yes, that is essentially what I'm saying. That's what happened. Do you know what I mean? That it's he made all these promises to have the unions back, and then when it comes time for him to have the unions back, he says, guess what? I don't have your back. He is clearly in a downward spiral of psychosis. He needs serious help. Yeah, I would agree. But I also think that Yi is doing some, I can't figure out what the benefit would be. Like I know on Tim Pool, they were talking about it last night, where it seems that Yi everything that he was doing was staged. You know what I mean? From the flight, and all their arrangements to the Tim Pool show, it seems like that whole thing was staged by Nick Fuentes yesterday when they were both on at the Alex Jones show in InfoWars, and you saw all the smiling and stuff like that. Hey, bro, you want to say hi to the world, and then I'll call you after? Wait, hold on. Say it again.
What's up, everybody? Adam here, checking in.
All right, I'll call you back in a minute. That's Adam. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's crazy. Dane Love is a union worker. He said, same with my union, and people are pissed. Maryland says Biden screwed over the union workers. Yes, I think they did. Moni said, I think the benefit of it is all self-grandiosity, talking about the Kanye West thing. I don't know how. I mean, that's the one thing I was struggling yesterday to try to figure out how Kanye West benefits from this craziness. I haven't been able to figure that out. Money Penny said he's also in a bipolar upswing. Yeah, I don't know. Patriot Operator said it's probably his buddy Fuentes posting for him since he gave him access to his page. He gave him his phone. He did that live on the show. So he gave him his phone. I don't know what that says. Everything Biden touches turns to dust. The anti-Midas touch. Someone else said, yep. But that's about it. I just wanted to come and broadcast that little bit for you guys. What I would like to ask all of you guys to do, and I'm going to be plugging this heavy as hell for the next couple of days because I need to come up with money. You know what I mean? And so the easiest way for me to come up with money is to sell stuff. So what I am selling now is this Patriot As F bundle. I run a business. This business is this show. You know why you don't see like ads all over the place and I don't do commercial breaks or any of that stuff is because we're truly independent. If you like me covering these live events and you like me doing a show at night, try to do your best to support the show. You could do it via any of the links over here, Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. Or what I prefer is that you go to the store and you purchase one of our boxes because then you're getting something tangible from it. And these are amazing boxes, okay? They're amazing, and you can finance them. It's $125 plus shipping, and you can finance that sucker and make 4 payments. So go over there. Also, we have the coffee. We own a coffee company. You can go to gratiscafe.com and buy coffee. We are still waiting on the Department of Agriculture to schedule our inspection, and then we'll be opening the world's first free coffee shop here in Virginia. It's going to be in Woodstock, Virginia. So make sure you do it. You can also go to Gratis Cafe right now, order coffee, and we'll ship that sucker out to you this weekend, and you'll have it by early next week. But what I prefer everybody do right now is, as the stream is ending, click that link in your chat, go over there and purchase one of these boxes, because one, they're going to be the best boxes I've ever made. And secondly, I need as many people as I can. Like, you know, the record day that we had like 2 months ago, I need that. I need to beat our record day. And we're giving away a 55-inch flat screen Roku television tonight as well. So anyway, we will see you guys tonight for a brand new episode of the Rational American Podcast, hosted by me,